Doctor Who, I have not watched since the Matt Smith years. Apparently, it's gone on with several different doctors. But this article goes into detail on why the casting of Ncuti Gatwa and Jodie Whittaker was not some bold step into the culture wars. Badger, if you would, the story from the Radio Times. Radio Times.
Doctor Who producer Jane Tranter has defended the show's progressive casting and storytelling, calling it part of the series' DNA rather than a cultural provocation. Speaking to In Touch magazine, she praised Russell T Davies' writing, saying, "I like the fact that Doctor Who can touch on sensitive issues and do it in an entertaining and engaging way, but that's how Russell T Davies writes." Tranter rejected the idea that casting Jodie Whittaker as the first female doctor, who we will lovingly call Dr. Karen, and Ncuti Gatwa as the first full-time Black doctor was controversial. "I also don't see the casting as some bold step in the culture wars. It's simply as it should be. It's normal." The long-running sci-fi series has faced accusations of being woke in recent years, but Davies himself has dismissed the criticism. In a past interview with RadioTimes.com, he explained that his approach isn't about ticking representation boxes, but simply reflecting lived reality. "I kind of am rather bemused when people say you're representing things now, because I think that's just people I live with and know and love." Ultimately, both Tranter and Davies frame the inclusivity of modern Doctor Who not as a political statement, but as a natural extension of the show's world building and its core ethos of reflecting humanity in all of its diversity.
I mean, I'll just say this. I have no problem with a Black Doctor Who. Who cares? You know, I think that Ncuti Gatwa was miscast. He's a very different personality-wise from Doctor Who, or even a female Doctor Who. Their characterizations just didn't feel like the Doctor to me. And I think that every clip I've seen is not. I don't know. I just think
Asian
the Doctor.
Right. I think the thing
why not
about
Asian
Ncuti,
Doctor?
The thing about Ncuti Gatwa is it wasn't that here's a new actor playing
69.
the Doctor. It was the identity of the actor playing the Doctor.
Right.
It was about being the gay Doctor versus just being the Doctor
and putting down the straight white male.
Yeah, and I think that I didn't watch these things. I saw one episode of Ncuti Gatwa and said the show's too gay for me. But even with Jodie, I think it was not about Jodie the actor being the Doctor. It was about being the first woman Doctor, and so it all became about the identity, which is a bad and horrible way of telling stories when you can't create a well-defined character, but the only thing you can rely on is their identity. Are they Black? Are they gay? Are they a woman or whatever? And that's how that's how we're writing stories nowadays.
Well, even when she was in that scene with Ncuti Gatwa's doctor in one of the final episodes, she had a little cameo and he was just like, "Oh, you're one of the doctors." She's like, "I'm the best doctor." Like she claimed that as the best doctor because she's a woman. God. But I think that like Russell T Davies doesn't write. It's not that he wants to write stories about like everyone's world. It's his worldview. It's a very narrow worldview. He's writing about his own life. As a doctor, it's all his worldview. Like that's it. That's why nobody can watch it and actually have a good time or relate to really anything, because his writing isn't that of like a human experience. It's his worldview, it's his experiences, and that's pretty much it. So when you have that really narrow point of view, you're not going to have a show that's relatable to millions of people.
Well, as one of the viewers pointed out, the Timeless Children went back and retconned the entire origins of Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, they do this on Star Trek nowadays all the time. They retcon. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing that, it feels, first of all, it just feels really disingenuous from a viewing standpoint, because this is settled case law. It shouldn't be that we're going back and going back to the origins of something with these new creators, because they didn't create it in the first place. And they come in and then they retcon it. And you're like, that's not true. What you're doing isn't true. You can say, "Oh, well, we can come in and change anything we want." I'm like, No, you can't. You shouldn't do that because one, it doesn't make sense. Two, it's something you've done because you thought you could get away with it. You're not serving the story that you're telling. And three, the reason you did it in the first place doesn't even come, it's not organic to the show you're working on. It's you're once again inserting your own activist bent into something that shouldn't have it. And I think that's what people get mad about.
Robert's point is excellent. I'm glad he brought up Star Trek because that's what I was going to say. The thing that they all have in common, and even the Rings of Power guys, is they all care more about their ideology and being on that right side of history and making everything into that mythical, perfect world that they want. Russell T. Davies has gone on record saying, if you're not writing about gay rights in 2025, then what are you even doing? And so that takes the forefront of all of his decision. And Kurtzman hasn't been doing, New Trek is his, because that's the battlefield upon which they put their cross. And unfortunately, the franchise suffers because of it.
Here's
story
the
and
thing,
characters. They don't want that.
What bothers me is I don't think these writers and these creatives have a vested interest in the success of the shows they're working on.
Oh, no, of course
you know, it's they just go in, they create havoc, they wreak havoc, destroy everything. And then they walk away with a salary, leaving devastation in their wake.
They'll go to the next franchise.
Yeah, I mean, look
again.
at Cracker Barrel. Look at here's a CEO who probably has no real financial investment in this company, and she just goes in and just starts making wholesale changes, and then she'll walk away a disgrace, and then leaving a entire franchise destroyed in her wake. And I'm starting to get tired of it.
Never let temporary people make permanent decisions.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where people cared about the franchises they were on, the TV shows they were on, and that its success meant that they succeeded. And I just don't get that sense anymore.
It's because, like, you know, when actors used to be cast, or I feel like people are still doing it now, where I'm the first to be whatever. I'm the first black dwarf that's going to be in Rings of Power. I'm the first, gay something to be in Star Trek, something or other. They're always like the first. Well, now it's like it's owners of businesses and directors of movies that want to leave their mark on something that, like, they really had no interest in or no investment in or didn't help bring up from the very beginning, but they can leave their mark on it and be like, well, you know what? I was the first to start this conversation. I'm going to leave my mark. And it doesn't matter how far they drag it down. That is their goal. Their goal is to leave a mark on that franchise and say, I did that. I did something. I was on the right side of history during my tenure at wherever, and I left my mark there. So that way they can be like, oh, I have this pride in doing that, because they really do think that they're on the right side of history and they're doing something really huge. Even though people might not agree with them, they will eventually. And I wanted to make sure that I left my mark there.
Yeah. Also, it's complete BS that this wasn't about the culture war. It obviously was. Then Russell T. Davies came back for one reason and one reason only, and that was to stick it to the chuds. That was it. He didn't care about Doctor Who anymore. He was done with Doctor Who. And for me, it's crazy that I am a big Doctor Who fan. One of my first and favorite doctors was Colin Baker, and I've been a casual fan, but I say I'm more hardcore than most people. For me, Doctor Who it had the same format as a Star Trek, where they were able to tell these stories that affected what's going on in society, but in a way that made you think, in a way that didn't preach to you. You had the doctor himself who solved everything by using his head, right? And they strayed so far from that, man. And look, I'm not going to blame everything on Jodie Whittaker, because she's a decent actress, and I think she kind of got a little bit of a raw deal. It wasn't her fault that the writing sucked, but she was the test subject in all this, right? Because I remember right after Peter Capaldi, I was ready to check out. I was like, okay, I think we're good here. So, but I gave Jodie her first season, and this was basically at the beginning, near the very beginning of quote unquote woke, right? Like when woke shit really started taking over. It was during her time. And I just remember all the propaganda. I remember all the shaming of Doctor Who fans, and I'm talking like hardcore Doctor Who fans. And the weird thing I don't get is, again, when you're a company who's you have this look. When it comes to fan bases, when it comes to fandom, when it comes to sci-fi, when it comes to comic books, whatever it may be, Generation X is the cutoff. You know, like maybe some later millennials, but for the most part, we're the cutoff. We are your prime demographic. We really are when it comes to all this stuff, right? Because the Gen Zers don't care. They don't care. And a lot of millennials don't care. So we are actually your main core audience here. So
it's kind of wild, Dante. You know, it's kind of wild, like how, like you just said, how disrespectful they are to the fans that brought this franchise all the way up from wherever it was.
Yep.
Like Doctor Who. I've never watched Doctor Who. I'm not a Doctor Who guy, but I respect the fandom because I'm a fan of things myself. Obviously, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, etc. And they don't have any respect.
They have zero respect for
who
us,
got you here.
Again, the
who
people
built
made
this franchise.
Like they have
in the first
disdain
place.
for us.
Yeah, they have disdain. But here's the thing.
They hate their audience. It's so crazy. You said it yourself. Russell T. Davies came back to do what? Stick it to the chuds.
That was it. That's his only reason for coming
to
back.
me, man. That's crazy.
Jessica Gao, She-Hulk. The whole point of the script was that we were the bad guys. That they they didn't even try to hide it. Yeah,
dude, and wasn't ashamed to say it. Came right out as bold as brass and said, "Oh yeah, we did this to the trolls or whatever." I forgot the little video. Everybody remembers it, and it was like, "You got to be kidding me, man!" Marvel, this is who you hired to
the crazy thing is, though, they don't have the fan base to replace us, right? So what are they doing?
They should be trying to build out the fan base and make us hand down these. Look, I say it all the time. I raised my kids on the MCU, and now my kids could care less because the MCU is falling off. They've done so much work and so much damage to that brand that 3 boys who have been raised up and they were collecting comics, they was reading Deadpool and all of that. By the time they get into their 20s, they could care less because Marvel has absolutely destroyed that brand because they hate their audience. And it doesn't make any damn sense to me at all. They should be trying to add, like you said, once we are gone, who's coming back to read Marvel comics? Who's coming back to watch Star Wars? Who's coming back to watch Star Trek?
Well, that's one of the things that they're trying to do. Their idea is that, we're going to go capture this new audience by appealing to, kids now are much more aware of, like, they're full of anxiety, right? So let's go do an anxiety-based episode of Star Trek. So the kids will come back and they'll get it. But what they don't realize is the whole world, it's not just the shows, it's the people that are watching them that have changed. And you can't alter, the shows are not going to suddenly get an audience that isn't interested. Audiences today, like you said, your kids today are not interested in the things that in the way we were interested in them as when we were coming up, and they've got their own things. They've got K-pop demon hunters. They've got things that appeal to them. And I'll tell you something, there is the unique nature of, say, manga and anime. It's authentic. And the audiences for those things know that. And the people that have embraced K-pop demon hunters know that that's something of their time. It belongs to them. It doesn't belong to me.
I've been saying,
and and so audiences want different things. Kids they aren't interested in watching Star Trek.
That's the issue, by the way. What you just said, it belongs to them. That's where the resentment comes from. So a lot of these creatives are like the video game reviewers that want to be regular news people, but they have to be a gaming journalist instead. And so they kind of resent that because that's not what they want to do. A lot of these creatives want their own original shit. They want their stories, but no one cares about their stories because everything that's hot right now is the shit that they used to make fun of, and the fans are the people that they don't like. So they resent the people, they resent the projects, and they just find a way to capture it, to do their own stuff. And then you've just seen it time and time again. The skin of something.
It's really exciting to see young people embrace a lot like Eastern or
it's awesome.
It's incredible. And it's like manga and anime was niche for us. We didn't have, like, there was a few animated shows, like I loved Gundam and I love Space Battleship Yamato.
Battle of the Planets.
Yeah, nobody watches that
Planet
shit today. The stuff. I mean, I just watched a I think it's called a basketball anime that was really good. And I never would have bought it, but it's coming to America now because younger audiences are embracing these things, and we didn't break through the anime barrier when we were coming up. Gen Z did that, and it's amazing.
And don't forget Legend of the Overfiend.
Oh well, Yuratsuki Doji, Wandering Kid. I have
Question
that.
is,
But
would
no,
they
Rob,
ever-
you made a point that I've made for several years is that this is the problem in the West is that they have gone back and remade and rebooted and, gave everything a new sequel, and they haven't made new things.
Nope.
And that's the biggest issue. And now what do you have? Anime, manga, K-pop, Demon Hunters, Korean K-pop, the music itself. China is now jumping into the anime game as well. And the kids, that's what they're watching. That's what Gen Z is watching. They have checked out from the West. Western entertainment is dead to them.
Yep.
And that's sad for me because, again, I want the West to look as much anime stuff as you see behind me, and I love it. I still want the West to live, but it seems like the culture is shifting. Western entertainment is dead. Eastern entertainment is taken off. And I don't know what's going to happen. What are these Hollywood studios and all these guys going to do? Are they just going to go and buy anime properties and adapt those because that's where the eyeballs are, and that's what everybody's watching. So that's what we're going to do instead of creating new things.
Bella Ramsey?
Well, and there you go. Just to
Yeah,
break
that's
up
how
the
we
conversation.
follow up that conversation.
Sloth has extra genes.
That's hilarious.
Whoever said Bella Ramsey is awful, man. That's crazy.
Oh, that's too damn
What? It's
All
gonna be
right.
Spider-Man.